Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about one of my biggest pet peeves, which is people asking you for advice and then not taking it and then continually asking you for that same advice. So as y'all know, or don't know, I don't know, the Lionsgate portal was last week. It was 8/8, it was August 8th. It's supposed to be like this big time for manifestation and you setting your intentions, and it's just supposed to be like a more powerful time. I had this friend reach back out to me and he wanted me to do a reading for him, and I've done multiple readings for him. In the past, he's been in my apartment before, and I'm just so over it that I had to make a video about it. This friend, we're gonna call him Evan. Evan came to Atlanta roughly a year ago, and the only reason he came here was for music. He wanted to make it big in music. He was a producer. He worked at a recording studio down in Sarasota, Florida, and then there was a second location up here, and the guy who owned it offered Evan a job up here. So Evan left the one down in Florida and moved up here. But the key part of the story, I didn't realize this until like months after I knew Evan. He was only in the one in Sarasota for a few months, and before that he was doing electrician work, and before that he was at Full Sail in Orlando, and he did not finish. Full Sail is 3 years. I forget the total cost of the school. I believe it's $70,000 a year, or it's $70,000 in total. I cannot remember. All I remember is not going. I got accepted as well, and I chose not to go. I went to UCF instead because I had the Bright Future Scholarship, which covered 75% of my tuition, and it was just cheaper, and I felt like it was just a better option to have a university behind me versus like a trade school. But he went there only 3 years, then he had 1 year left and he didn't finish it. Honestly, I think he has some mental issues, so I will try to be kind. But also it's like so frustrating, so fucking frustrating. So Evan, I got in contact with him because he grew up with some people that I went to college with. In my freshman year, I was very close to his friends. I actually ended up not falling out, but I distanced myself from his friends just because I felt like they weren't going anywhere quickly. There was just a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking. They were smart as fuck, like they were funny, they were fun to be around. I just didn't feel like they had drive, and at that point in my life I just didn't want to be around any of it. I stopped drinking when I was 20 just because I was just around so much insanity when I was very young. I wish all those people the best, but I don't want to live like that. But he grew up with those same people that I used to party with. So one of them reached out to me, told him about, and I wish him all the best. I hope he's doing good. He was fucking great. I remember one time I was upset over a guy, and I was at a bar and I was drunk, and I walked from, this was at the library lib on University, and I walked all the way from lib back to my freshman dorm, and I was so like pissed off at the guy. I don't even remember what the fuck happened. And this friend, which was his best friend, he was coked out, and he still made sure that like he walked me back to my dorm. So he reached out to me telling me about Evan moving up to Atlanta. So I was like, okay. When Evan got to Atlanta, he picked me up, but I still gave him a tour of Atlanta. We became friends pretty quick. I've been in Atlanta for 2 years. I had a very traumatic event happen roughly a year and a half ago, so I was very closed off. I did not let anybody near me, and I felt like since this was a tie to my past that it would be trustworthy enough to have around me. And he never did anything bad. Fuck it, we're gonna get there. So he came to work at the studio. He did not have an apartment. He did not have money. His loans for Full Sail were being sent to his parents, which I would find out later because I could not understand it. I could not understand why he didn't move with urgency. When I moved to Atlanta, I had 6 months where I planned to come here, where I saved, where I worked 2 jobs. I was literally going from North Italia, changing into jeans in my car, and driving to Chili's to go work another shift. Like, I was so committed to live here and it not go wrong. And I had my apartment and everything like planned out. I think I got it like 4 or 5 months in advance. Like I planned everything to a fucking T. Things still went wrong, but I'm here and I'm doing great. And I would argue that I am successful at this point in time, because otherwise why would you even ask me for advice? So he came here, no money, no apartment. He got like one of those, I don't know what the fuck it's called, bed, Airbnb. He was jumping around from Airbnb, and I could not understand why he just didn't have this sense of urgency. Like he refused to get a second job. He was doing Uber for a second, but then he was saying he hated Uber because he was just stuck in the car, and he was talking about like the mental health, which I completely get, but why would you not go get another job? And he was blaming the recording studio, and he was saying that the guy that hired him, he was saying that he was going to have so many clients, that he was going to be making X amount of money a week, and he wasn't. Life sucks sometimes. Like you have to plan for things to go wrong. So yes, your boss may have said this. That doesn't mean it's true. You should plan for it to not be true. You shouldn't even be putting the weight of that on him if you want like good shit from him. I know that sounds bad, but that's like, if you want to work in music and any kind of entertainment, you're going to be working for fucking scraps. You should have planned for things to go wrong. So there was that. Dude was hopping around for Airbnbs for like 6 months, refused to get a job. I remember trying to set him up with like a new strip club that had opened, and then he was against doing that. Like, and he could have done security, he could have done like fucking valet, he could have done anything. His motherfucker wouldn't work, and I couldn't understand why. I was like, why the fuck is he so comfortable staying in these ratchet ass like Airbnbs, having no money, and just thinking that like, oh my God, I'm so good, like they're gonna discover me, it's gonna be great. Like he had such an ego about his talent. That's the thing though, I'm very talented too. I'm an incredibly talented singer. That doesn't mean people listen to my music. That doesn't mean I make money off of it. That doesn't mean that one day it's just gonna happen out of the blue. It may, but I'm not gonna go into every interaction I have thinking I'm hot shit when there's no evidence that I'm hot shit. Even if I was hot shit, I still wouldn't go into an interaction thinking that way. And I felt like that was just how he operated. Just that he was better than everyone else, and that everyone else just hadn't figured it out yet. He was very talented. I'm not going to deny him that. But if you don't have like the social proof of success, you can't go around acting like that. I'm sorry, nobody's going to give you an opportunity. Oh, fuck, that was a weight off. And then I found out I was researching somebody that I was dating, and I plugged his phone number in, and then I was backtracking his address. You can't do that for me. You're not going to find any current address for me. So if you were wondering, you can't. But this guy that I backtracked his number, and then I put in my producer, Evan, I put in his number because I was just curious, like, and he kept going back home. That's the thing too. He kept driving back down to Sarasota. He also did coke. He also like did the whole vaping thing. And that's just money out your pocket. Like, you're going to talk about not having money. Why the fuck do you keep feeding addictions? And he kept going back to Sarasota like every month, and I couldn't figure out why. And then he was telling me this stuff about, I'll try to be vague, one of his parents being abusive. But he kept going back to that parent. He kept asking for money from that parent. My father was incredibly abusive. I haven't spoken to that man in 2 years. When I left, I left. I think the last time I ever got money from him was when I was 19. I think 19. And he promised to help me out with my college, and he didn't. He gave up on that shit like a quarter of the way through. But when I was done, I was done. And with Evan, that was not the case. Evan just kept going back. And you can call like in an addictive relationship, whatever, like you can say what you want to say, but if you're going to go around talking all this shit about your parent being abusive and then you're going to go right back to them. I looked up the house. The house is right on the water. I remember him complaining about the price of the house one time and saying that it wasn't that expensive. I can't remember how expensive it was. I want to say it was around 300 or under 300, or I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was $500,000. I cannot remember. But even then, the house was beautiful. It was on the water in Sarasota. Like, he had a decent upbringing, and that's why he kept going back to the house, because it was fucking nice. That's why he had no fire lit under his ass. It was like he wanted to struggle so bad, but then he just would not work to make it work. And this time came in February, because this was like a year-long friendship, I guess, and there was never, it was always platonic. I had no attraction to him. He was a white guy. I don't date white guys. It might sound a little racist from my side. I don't know. I just don't. I don't. I grew up in Tampa. I grew up around a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of black people. I'm Italian. Like my mom's side of the family, that's what I grew up around. Everybody was dark. It's not my thing. But February came and oh, Reaper's right here. He wants to get petted. February came. He knows I'm upset. February came and he was talking about how he wanted to move to Las Vegas, that he had all these friends that were living in a producer house. So I was like, okay, you know, all these people from Full Sail, like, that's great. I'm glad they have this producer house. But the producer house hadn't been bought yet. There was an investor and he was trying to move all of them into the producer house. I said his name, I'll cut it out. Evan went off to Las Vegas to check out the producer house. He flew up there. And before he did, he was telling me to not get stuck in Atlanta, that there were so many other better places, that there was so much opportunity, that Atlanta wasn't it. And by the time that we stopped talking before he went to Las Vegas, I just had it in my head that I was going to move to Miami, that like Miami would be better. I would make more money in Miami. But that's not true. Sometimes once you get to a big city, the best thing you can do is put your roots down and then spread them out. Like, why would you uproot everything that you've built? And I'm so glad I've stayed here because my social circles have just grown. I got another job opportunity that I can't even talk about around very wealthy people because of my social circle. And the crazy thing is too, when I was in that room with the wealthy people, there was already people that I recognized from the club. The same club, because there were points too where I feel like he tried to shame me for what I do. And even when I was creating the OnlyFans thing, he was just like so against it, and he would bring up the Jesus stuff a lot. Like, he was just very delusional. And sometimes when people are delusional, they really bring in the Jesus thing, and he would do that occasionally. But yeah, him telling me to move out of here and do something else and it was going to be greater. I'm so glad I didn't. I literally planned everything. I called the place in Miami I was going to move to. My complex here has a sister complex down there. I was figuring out the cost for moving, and to be completely frank, like, it was too much. It was too much for me to move by myself, get all of my shit, me being alone as a single woman, bring Reaper, then move down to Miami, which I don't fucking know the area. I don't know the clubs. I'm confident in my abilities to make money. I'm not confident in how quickly I'd be able to have a turnaround in my ability to do that after I got there, after taking like a major blow to everything that I've saved. It cost a fuck ton to move. And then I have Reaper, and it was like, was I gonna leave Reaper up here, drive my car down there, hire a moving company, or just, I didn't want to deal with it. So I held off on it. I was like, okay, and at that time too, I had broken up with somebody, and I was just kind of ready to put everything behind me. Fuck. Glad I didn't move. The producer house ended up falling through because the investor, he no longer wanted to invest. I guess he got spooked. Because I'm assuming nobody looked like they were going anywhere fast, so he pulled out of that. And then come back to Atlanta. I hang out with Evan a few times. The last time Evan, that was the other thing too. Evan, he always wanted my card readings. Let's look at my cards. These are my cards. These are more of my cards. This is my spread I did for today. These are my notes. Doesn't this look like somebody who knows what they're doing? Doesn't it look like somebody who's been doing that same shit for years? Years, since I was like 18. But he would ask me for readings, and I remember on one particular night, he was trying to like outdo my readings and act like he was more spiritually gifted than me. And in the beginning, I was so excited to have a friend who was even interested in this, especially a man. And at the end of it, it was like, why the fuck is this a competition? Like, he would try to read me in different situations I would tell him about, and it was just so stupid. So stupid. And he did not have the gift, and he kept acting like he had the gift. Kept acting like we were equal. It was like all the light he saw in me, he was trying to convince himself that he had it in himself. And because I was not at a place where I claimed everything that I am, and where I recognized my own power, I let him. The last time he came over, Reaper was so upset. Reaper just sat in that chair behind me and stared at him on the couch. And then Reaper, like, Well, I was sitting in that chair too, and Reaper, he like basically sat on me, and Reaper just kept jumping on him. Reaper did not want him in. His energy was bad. His eyes looked sickly. Like, you can tell when somebody's spiritually just unwell just by looking at their eyes. And I think it was either at that point or shortly after that point, he started sleeping at the studio. Oh, I forgot about that. He got an offer to move in with a guy who believed in his talent, and then he was sharing like a 1-bedroom apartment with this guy, and the entitlement that Evan had was just so crazy. I remember he got upset about he wanted a key to the guy's apartment. Instead of the guy letting him in every night, he wanted his own separate key, and he wasn't paying rent. He wasn't doing anything. There was just this guy who took a chance on him, felt bad because, that was it too. He was also, I think he was living in his car, and then he was sleeping at the studio. I know this sounds crazy because he had such like a good home, but then he was choosing to live like that. I feel like he almost wanted to struggle to make it seem like he deserved all of the fame and success that he was after, but he was not willing to work for it. That is what I'm trying to stress. Like, I told him so many times to get a job, like, he was not willing to work and plan for it. And I hate that. I remember he said something about me staying in Atlanta. He said, like, if you have a dog and an apartment and that's all you need to be happy, then yeah, Atlanta's a good place. Like, specifically talking about me. Specifically, I remember him too judging me for having Reaper and a dog of this size in my apartment and not having a house, when it's like, you don't even have a place to fucking stand in. I just feel like I gave him so much of my energy just to be judged by him. But yeah, he ended up losing out on the apartment he was staying at because he was addicted to the guy, so I guess that bridge got burned. And I hadn't heard from him in 4 months. 4 months until the Lionsgate portal last week, because he wanted me to do a card reading for him. And I asked him like what had happened, and he told me that the studio owner found out around the 4th of July that he was sleeping on the couch. He said the studio owner kicked him out of there, and he said he had to go back home because he didn't have any place to stay. And he said the studio owner was talking about getting another building with a shower in it. I think that was a lie. I went over to the studio's page. The same studio that Evan worked at, he was replaced by somebody else a month prior. And that guy had also come up from Florida. That guy finished Full Sail. That guy had so many credits, just like in his Instagram. He looked so professional. And I think Evan was lying about the seriousness, at least, of the studio owner going and making a building and shower just for him. It was like Evan just got by on how talented he felt like he was. And for all the talent he had, the work ethic did not match it. And I think another thing that bothered me too, he finally came to peace with staying in Atlanta, and he finally told me, this is the place to make everything happen. Like, after the whole like Las Vegas charade, after telling me to go to Miami, and he came to peace with this being the place. And he says something about, like, if a white boy can make it in Atlanta, then he can make it anywhere. I don't even want to, how should I expand on that? How should I expand on you being a white boy coming into a black space and being so special, and that if you can make it here, then you're automatically successful anywhere? It's just like a stupid fucking thing to say. It's like, if I as a white woman move to Atlanta and become all of a sudden successful, I can make it anywhere because it's so hard being in a black space. Sometimes it is, I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot of reverse racism, but it's just like such a fucking tone deaf thing to say. And he always had this thing with me about being white, because coming from Florida, there's a lot of white people, but we're all like a little bit ratchet. It's in us, it's in our personality. So you're used to being around it, but you're not used to being around just only black people. Like, we're used to being around all the Latinos, whoever knows, and then the blacks being Hispanic, the Hispanics being white. Like, everybody's mixed in. Everybody's something else. But yeah, that he would always talk about us being white as it, And you know, it was nice having a little solidarity because I am usually a minority in the places that I go, but it is a good thing because it makes me stand out. People remember my face. It's hard to break into a city and place when you are the different one, but I would argue that there's more reward doing it. And to even be complaining about being a white man, it's like me complaining about being a white woman. Like, there are hard things that comes with it. I think, as I was explaining with the city, if we're talking about a mass amount of success, I think when you're down at the bottom, it's very hard to break into rooms. I think it's easy to get into the room, but it's harder to stay in there. And you're obviously more marketable than somebody of a different ethnicity. And once you get to a place where you do have a team, then everything works out more easily for you because you are a lighter color. But I would argue that starting out, you don't get the same privilege. If anything, I feel like people resent you more because they know how the world will eventually treat you, how society would put you on that pedestal once you had enough eyes on you. That's how I feel. That's what I've seen. But being white with no team, it doesn't get you further. It does not. And you have to work just as hard. And I feel like that was just the point that he was missing. I know this is so long, but it's so important. And I hope you're engaged with this because I put this on my private story on Instagram and people were telling me to put it on TikTok. And I was like, fuck, I cannot put this man on blast. But at the same time, I want to. I genuinely want to, because you were in my apartment at one point. You were asking me for all of this advice. You were around everything that I built. I tell you how I built it. You didn't follow that. And now you're back at home with your parents, with no job, with no money. He said he couldn't even get back to Atlanta because he didn't have the money to drive back up. That's probably what, 100, 200 in gas money? I don't know. It only pays me, I only have to pay like $30 to fill up my tank. I have a very, economically, whatever car. It would probably only cost me $100 to go down to Sarasota. Excuse me. Oh, and that was the other thing too. When he texted me about, he wanted a reading over FaceTime. Like, that's how badly he wanted to hear my advice. And then one of his last texts was, I never answered him, but one of his last texts was how he was thinking about moving to Nashville. And that just like, I'm fucking done. I don't want to hear about how hard the world is for a white man who doesn't want to work. I don't want to fucking hear it. Yeah. So that is the story of Evan, who was committed to fail, honestly, because to not have it together after a year, and he was the same age as me. He was 24, and I don't really care if I sound cold. Like, these are just hard facts. Hard facts. Taking my feelings out of it, I had somebody who used my light, my knowledge, my success, judged me for it, was in my own home, and still returned, even after I gave him all the information he needed, returned a year after he failed, trying to get that same information. That's the story of Evan. I hope this was entertaining for you. I didn't know what to talk about. I was like, I either talk about this or I talk about, I don't know, I've been dealing with a bunch of people that just like complain about the opportunities they're given. But it's like, if you work in entertainment, it's gonna suck. You're gonna be manipulated. You're gonna be sexually harassed. Like, you're not gonna be paid what you think you deserve. And I'm just kind of tired of hearing people complain about it. Like, you should have expected this. You know better. Yeah, I'll probably do that next week.